You're home alone. The house is quiet. And yet something in your chest tightens when you walk past a dark hallway. Nobody is there, you know that. But your skin doesn't know that. Your skin reacts anyway. Why would a brain built by millions of years of evolution waste energy fearing an empty room? The answer is far stranger than simple fear. It's a leftover survival circuit that never got the memo that the danger is gone. For most of human history, being alone was not a comfort. It was a death sentence. A lone human on the savannah 100,000 years ago had no backup, no one to watch the trees while you slept, no one to notice the shift in grass 20 feet away. Solitude meant exposure, and exposure meant something else was almost always watching back. So your brain built a shortcut, a fast, sloppy, paranoid little alarm system whose only job was this: assume something might be looking at you and assume it before you have proof. Researchers call this hypervigilance, and it's not a flaw, it's a feature. A wrong guess that something is watching costs you nothing but a racing heart. A wrong guess that nothing is watching can cost you your life. Evolution doesn't reward accuracy, it rewards survival. And a brain that's a little too jumpy survives more often than a brain that's calm and wrong. This is why you whip around in an empty parking garage. It's why your scalp prickles in a silent forest. It's why a closed door at night feels different than the same door in daylight, even though nothing about the wood has changed. Psychologist Nicholas Humphrey, who spent decades studying the evolution of consciousness, proposed something unsettling. He argued that humans evolved as such intensely social creatures that we became experts at detecting eyes, expressions, and intention in other humans, and that this skill became so deeply wired that it now fires even when there's no one around to detect. Your brain isn't built to notice presence. It's built to notice the possibility of presence. And possibility is everywhere, even in an empty room. There's a term for the part of your brain responsible for this. Some researchers call it the agency detection system, and it has one job: scan the environment for signs of another mind. A rustle in the bushes might be wind, or it might be a predator. Your brain, running on ancient code, doesn't wait to find out. It assumes agency first and asks questions later. Here's where it gets stranger. This system doesn't just watch for predators, it watches for the gaze itself. In the early 2000s, researchers at the University of Newcastle ran an experiment that quietly proved this. They put up a simple, unsupervised honesty box in a break room where staff paid for coffee and tea on the honour system. Then they changed one tiny detail, week by week. Some weeks, a printed image of a pair of human eyes was placed above the donation box. Other weeks, an image of flowers replaced it. Nothing else changed. No security camera, no supervisor. Just an image. The result startled even the researchers, led by Melissa Bateson. People paid nearly 3 times more into the box during the weeks the eyes were watching. Not real eyes, a printed photograph. People knew consciously that the eyes weren't real. Their behaviour didn't care. This is the feeling you get in an empty hallway. Your conscious mind says nobody is there, but somewhere underneath that thought, a much older, much faster system has already started scanning for a gaze, and it doesn't require the gaze to be real to start working. Think about that for a second. You don't need an actual observer to feel observed. You just need your brain's pattern detector to register something eye-shaped, face-shaped, or even vaguely symmetrical, and it will light up the exact same alarm as if a person had walked into the room. This explains something else too. Why does an old doll feel unsettling sitting in the corner of a room? Why does a mask on a wall seem to follow you as you move? Your brain isn't being irrational. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do, treating face-like and eye-like shapes as potential agents, just in case. There's a darker layer to this story, and it involves the dark. Humans are one of the only species that actively fears nighttime for reasons that have nothing to do with temperature or visibility. Researchers studying nyctophobia, the fear of darkness, point out that it isn't really a fear of the dark itself. It's a fear of what darkness hides. Your visual system, the dominant sense you rely on for almost everything, goes nearly useless at night. And when your most trusted sense goes offline, your ancient threat detection system doesn't relax. It escalates. It compensates for the missing information by assuming the worst. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy has written extensively about how human infants and children rely on something called alloparenting, meaning they evolve to expect multiple watchful adults around them at all times, not just one parent. From the very beginning of human life, being watched was the normal state. Being unwatched was the dangerous exception. If Hrdy is right, then feeling looked at isn't some glitch bolted onto an otherwise rational mind. It's the default setting your entire nervous system was built around. The unsettling truth might be that comfortable, secure aloneness, the kind modern life expects you to handle calmly every single day, is actually the unusual condition. Constant watchfulness was the norm for nearly the entire span of human existence. So when you feel that prickle on the back of your neck in an empty room, you're not malfunctioning. You're running a software that kept your ancestors alive for 200,000 years. The hardware changed. You live in houses with locks and windows, with curtains and phones that can summon help in seconds. But the software is still running the old simulation, the one where a lone human in an open landscape needed to assume eyes everywhere just in case. This is also why certain spaces feel wrong, even when you can't explain why. Architects and designers have started paying attention to this. Wide open rooms with no clear sightline to the exits, narrow hallways with blind corners, basements with only one way out. These spaces trigger discomfort not because anything is actually present, but because your ancient detection system flags them as places where something could be present without you knowing. Your unease isn't about the room, it's about your ancestors' rule. Never be in a place where a predator can see you before you see it. And there's a twist to all of this that makes it even stranger. The feeling of being watched doesn't just protect you from threats, it shapes how you behave even when you're certain you're alone. Studies on the watching eyes effect have found that simply displaying an image of eyes, even cartoonish ones, in a public space reduces littering, increases charitable donation, and changes how people park their bikes. Your brain treats a drawing of an eye with almost the same seriousness it treats a real one peering at you from across a room. The line between actual surveillance and the appearance of surveillance is far thinner than most people assume, and your nervous system has never fully learned the difference. So the next time you feel that strange creeping sense of being watched in an empty apartment, in an unlit stairwell, in a quiet house at 2 a.m., you're not being irrational. You're hearing an alarm that was forged across 250,000 years in a world where it was usually right. The room is empty. The data confirms it. But your nervous system isn't asking for data. It's asking for safety the same way it always has. You walk past the dark hallway again. Your chest tightens for a second, then releases. Nobody is there, you know that. But somewhere underneath the knowing, something even older still isn't so sure.